The material conditions under which I taught are part of the story behind why I found it necessary to leave traditional university teaching in order to remain a feminist pedagogue. As one or two younger, I use that in scare quotes now because I'm feeling a bit older, visiting postdoctoral professors who did the bulk of the teaching in each of the programs I passed through, my capacities to participate in intergenerational feminist movement building was severely limited. Generational laments and the gatekeeping side effects of them, related to political, intellectual, structural divisions within feminist studies, added to my sense that the current state of universities made intergenerational feminism in this domain highly unlikely. I experienced debates in the field as inextricable from my material concerns about university restructuring. Technology at this impasse signified for me an assault on rigorous critical teachings, a dangerous administrative vehicle for replacing tenured lines with flexible adjuncts, and a capitalist ploy to replace semi-stable teaching positions with non-unionized, underpaid, and under-resourced intellectuals. My life now as an activist intellectual on the periphery of academia comes with its own set of contradictions. Like my former students, most of my current students are women. Yet, unlike the fairly age, economic, and even racial homogeneity of the students I taught in face-to-face classrooms, the nurses that I teach, both through the certificate program and in our continuing education program, range in age. They are racially, culturally, and nationally diverse, and they economically arrive to nursing from a broad range of social classes. They are members of a union, of course, which in effect mitigates some of this class division. Given my excitement about teaching across differences in my current position, I did not expect to encounter another, albeit differently constituted, generational divide. In the healthcare version of material restructuring, technology is the culprit driving intergenerational tension. For the past 2 decades, healthcare workers have been faced with a gradual movement within the industry to de-skill, dismantle, and devalue professional nursing. The gradual and now pervasive introduction of more technology at the bedside has been used systematically within the industry as an excuse for replacing experienced and licensed nurses with lesser skilled medical assistants and technicians. Younger nurses with less experience at the bedside are trained to use computer diagnostics, protocols, and electronic health records programs as a central component of their RN education. When they enter the profession, they are often promoted as super users of healthcare's new technological infrastructure and charged as supervisors and authorities over nurses with much more bedside, hands-on experience. The healthcare industry's strategic production of technological division pits nurses from different generations against one another, creating intergenerational conflicts that can distract nurses from asking questions about how technology often detrimentally impacts their relationships to their colleagues as well as with their patients. Online teaching in our joint certificate program in global women's health leadership has created ripe opportunities and platforms for thinking and acting beyond the logics of generational division in both the academic and technological sense. In discussion forums, I task students with honing their skills and capacities for critical analysis with forum questions that ask them to demonstrate closed textual analysis, something akin to what Chrissy's done here. However, during the latter half of each week, I encourage them to engage in open discussions through a combination of their own prompts and prompts that I guided them through. The general course purpose of bridging our understanding of human health with our critical understanding of social and economic systems lent itself to fruitful interdisciplinary engagement. Students with predominant footing in the university engaged materials from the disciplinary perspectives of sociology, history, cultural analysis, public health, and policy. Like their professor, they often began their thinking about health and inequality from broad structural, historical, and theoretical lenses. Many nurses, however, first approached course materials with focus on health indicators and the science of human embodiment. These different points of conversational entry helped to shape a critical climate of shared learning because it became obvious very early on that each student in the class came to the forums with a different set of understandings and experiences. Thus, the ways that age and experience often manifest in disciplinary face-to-face classrooms as a trump card of expertise was lost to a climate in which students quickly discovered that nobody in the room was an expert in everything. My pedagogical choice to include both generally accessible texts, media clips, and movement histories alongside quite difficult and dense theoretical materials also fostered intergenerational interdependence. The course was difficult on 2 registers. It required students to work through sophisticated intellectual challenges, and it also required them to work through the harsh realities of human injustice that differentially compromise women's health. The two-pronged necessity of working through seems to have organically created a need for collaboration, through which students came to regard one another as inter-experienced guides and resources for making sense of complex lived and theoretical problems. They counted on one another to explain and make sense of economic issues that were unfamiliar to most at the beginning of the semester. And they counted on one another to ethically deal with the human suffering on a global scale that they were watching and experiencing and witnessing. Many forum conversations thus resonated as a type of feminist practice in which the dual tasks of developing a shared analysis and building an ethical and just response created a context for students to generatively move through and even learn from their generational, geographic, and other differences. In this regard, third point here, the digital format is conducive to feminist movement making because it gives students tools to organize their thinking around a shared purpose. Despite some reservations, I experimented with group projects as a culminating class exercise. In this final project, students were required to investigate further one health risk or concern that we had studied and come up with, that we'd studied over the course of the semester, and they were tasked to come up with a social and economic response for treating the underlying inequalities that they saw as impacting women's health. They were asked to document their process by producing an informative wiki on the Sakai website. Each group was then asked to present a solutionary proposal to the class in whatever form that they thought would be most effective in coming through with the solution. This creative collaboration led to a wonderful array of final projects, all of which were small-scale expressions of engaged feminist movement building. I mean to suggest not that they were exploring feminism in the abstract, but that in their practices and solutions, students enacted intergenerational social movements as emergent possibilities. For example, with a presentation to the local city council, creating petitions, planning political campaigns, building workshops and community building websites, and building political bases by contacting, literally they contacted and got involved in ongoing on-the-ground movements around the world. Many groups messed with the linear temporality, registering final projects as only the starting point for moving their projects forward.